episode 3 of the How to Love Freely podcast. Today's episode is going to be on hobbies and interests. I'm your host, Jose Gutierrez, and I got with me my brother,
Gustavo,
and then teacher in what school is it again?
Centennial.
Centennial High
Yeah,
School.
Centennial.
Yeah, Mr. Villalobos.
So,
If you want to give yourself a quick introduction, I know it's your first time being on here.
yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Rolando Villalobos. Uh, I'm from Las Cruces, and I'm a teacher, a high school teacher. It's my third year teaching.
3 years, and you're enjoying it so far?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my first majors that I was gonna be going for, and was English teacher. I wanted to pursue that as a career at some point.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a pretty good job. I think like working with children at that level is such a important thing for us to have.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, today was on hobbies, and interests, and the very first thing I wanted to do was like try to see what a definition of that would be, because those
Right.
are two distinct things, but how we distinguish them kind of it's a little blurry.
It is, but in Spanish, a hobby is a pasatiempo,
Mm-hmm.
something that you pass the time. And what's really interesting is in sign language, uh, it's the sign enjoy that means hobby.
Mm.
Yeah, it threw me off. I was talking to a deaf, but not talking, sorry, I was communicating with a deaf person,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me, your enjoy what? And I was so confused. I was like, what? What do you,
How
what do
does
you
that work?
mean? Yeah, and then they finger spelled hobby. And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, I thought that was the sign for enjoy. And they were like, it is.
It's
Very
so it's
interesting.
both of them.
Yeah, dude. I love languages. It helps you understand words better, in my opinion.
Yeah, just like it's a different perspective on the same idea,
It
the
really
same
is like
concept.
pasatiempo. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so just passing time. In a way,
Yeah,
it's the action that is passing time. So in the
yeah.
what about interests? How would you define that? How would you distinguish those?
Dang. Interest. I guess
Because I think
something you may not have started yet,
hmm,
you know?
because the way that I see it is that every hobby is an interest as well, but not every interest is a
Ah,
hobby,
mm,
because there's a certain level of involvement that you need to get at before you can like really consider that a hobby. Like let's say one example that I'd heard was riding a bike. Some people take that a lot more seriously than others. For some it might just
right,
be transport back and forth from somewhere, or just like just in case my car stops working in the morning I can get to work. Like it's just there in the
right.
back. But
Have you seen those videos of the guys mountain biking down a thin hill?
yeah,
Or
stuff like
like,
that.
oh, dude, that's scary, bro.
I couldn't imagine doing that. Like my
I
bike
wonder what
is
that
for
guy's hobby
transport,
is.
but yeah, he'd be interested in mountain biking specifically, and that's how you know it's a hobby. It's something that you invest into. You put money into it. It's a big
Right.
thing. More so your interests, you're just like, oh, those are things you like to talk about or things you like to look into.
Yeah.
More so those that hobby is like one or two specific things.
Right.
So like what are hobbies that you have?
Shoot.
Start there.
Well, for me, one
I was thinking about that. I guess studying words. Um,
Studying words. Like
yeah.
well, you said
Like
like
I'll
language
be I'll
earlier,
be
right?
listening. Sorry, what's that?
You said like language earlier, right? So like
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Well, that's my major, linguistics.
mm,
I studied foreign language, and I got a supplementary major in linguistics.
That's cool. I love linguistics
Yeah.
too, man.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
It's such an interesting field of study to just see
It is.
down to the syllable how people communicate little bits of information.
Oh yeah. All the words, it's arbitrary when you think about
And
it.
there's so many different ways to describe them too.
Oh yeah.
I forget. There's like a specific word for the way Icelandic is, but
Uh-huh.
they just have really long words that are pretty much conjugations isn't the right word for it, but they kind of just keep adding things to it, making the word longer, and that becomes the whole sentence.
Yeah. It's you said Icelandic?
I think it's Icelandic. Yeah, I'm trying to remember specifically.
Right. Something like that.
But even uh the amount of information per second that's given in Spanish, like there's more syllables in Spanish per word, so people
Mhm.
speak faster because they're trying to get more information in like a similar amount of time to somebody who's speaking in English. Like there's been counts that there's just more syllables in Spanish in general. Like their words just are longer.
Sometimes, I mean, let's see. Shoot, let me think of a phrase.
Well, like even as something as simple as like to share
Like
in English is
right,
super.
compartir.
Yeah,
Uh,
compartir has so
yeah.
many parts to it where you could just say to share now compartir and
It's
now
one word though.
but it
Yeah.
has a lot more syllables to it. Usually, it's usually, but there are shorter words in Spanish, and it just causes the language to be spoken faster, especially by people who are native to it, who that was their mother tongue.
Yeah.
I know Tavo wanted to speak when I'd asked hobbies.
What's up?
Tavo had wanted to speak earlier when I was asking about hobbies that we have.
All
I
right.
know he had
Yeah,
something
let's
ready.
hear it.
Yeah, when Jose had asked like what our hobbies are, mine, like my hobby, like my biggest one would be
What's that? I
music.
think his mic's
Cause
muted.
well, I think I told you, but my hobby's music, and
Oh, one
I play
second.
quite a few instruments.
Let me change this one, and I think you'll be able to hear him too.
All right.
There we go. You had said it
Yeah,
was music.
yeah, music.
Nice.
Like I play quite a handful of instruments, and like I've invested a lot of time into it, and that's developed into like into a job. Like I've had people call me to ask me to play for them, and well, like yeah, like it's just something that I put my time into, and it's paid off because like I've gotten money from it. Like I've gotten big money, and
Yeah, and it just stems from like playing in the first place. Like it's something that you enjoy doing. Like playing music is just
Yeah.
a joy that you have. It's something that you
Uh-huh.
enjoy. Going back to the sign language.
It's his
mhm,
pasatiempo. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so through that, that's another thing that was brought up is that there's like a hobby to hustle pipeline almost. You know what I mean? Like there's this very common, especially in American culture, where like you have a main job and then you have something that you really like to do,
Right.
and
Like the
you
doctor here in Las Cruces.
mm-hmm,
My chick's
exactly
doctor, he's a magician, bro.
exactly things like that. Like
like a side
That's
um
hustle.
cool, huh?
it's it's something that's so different. And there was a study that was done, and I want to bring up the video specifically. Um, the remarkable impact of hobbies on a career. It was a TED talk by Karen McFarland, and
Mhm.
basically she had said that there's this scale that determines how much a hobby is going to impact somebody's success in a career. And so the two variables that they measure is how different it is from your career. So like in this example, magic and being a doctor. Being a doctor and being a magician are night and day. They're two very separate things. but
Right.
but through that you have to imagine that person is now experiencing night and day themselves. They're going through all of that and they're working hard on both of them. And so as a person, they're becoming more well-rounded because of that. Meaning that they're just going to be successful in general, and it's not just going to be in one of those areas, which goes to the second part, which was how serious that hobby is.
Right.
So if somebody had like a video gaming hobby, that's one that's really easy to grade on the serious scale on both sides, because you could have somebody who just plays video games for fun and they don't really do something with it, but then they take it more seriously, and then they could start like entering tournaments maybe and making money off of that, and then it becomes like a side hustle for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, going to this morning, my cousin, he was telling me that there's this guy who does wagers on Fortnite, and he actually, with that money, he bought a car. Not like a brand new one, but he bought like a $25,000 car just off of Fortnite, like online matches, betting money and stuff like that. And he made a bunch of money to buy a car.
Shoot.
Yeah, and once again, it's how much you can put into it and how much you're getting out of it. I think is what makes a hobby worth having. Because if your hobbies are something that like you don't enjoy doing, or like you're putting a lot of time into and you feel like you're not producing a lot,
Right.
like that's something that's pretty discouraging.
Yeah, so I get, you're talking about being a doctor and a magician's night and
Mhm.
day. Well, for me, I'm a language teacher, but I'm here studying words as a hobby. That's not night and day.
Well, no, and it's not
You know what I mean?
particularly the only measure of
Right,
like
right. But
success in a career,
yeah,
because
it's
having
because
that
I don't know.
overlap.
I'll listen to Spanish music and then
Mhm.
there'll be one word I'm like, what is that? And then I look it up and I write it down. I write it down.
So like,
And
it's
yeah,
good to have
I
diversity in
just
hobbies too, cause like
yeah, yeah.
like the
I mean,
doctor and
that's not
magician,
my
there's two
only
different
hobby.
things,
Right,
and
right.
well, having that, it'll like open your like mind to different
Yeah,
things, as opposed
nice.
like what you said, you're a language teacher and you study words. That
Right.
could make like, it'll strengthen what you do a lot, like as a
Hmm.
teacher and as just someone who studies words.
Um,
Yeah.
I I also bought two chickens. I tend to them every week. I guess that's a hobby, I mean, I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, something that you care for. You put a lot of
I
work
get
into them. Like
eggs.
I
I
know.
take care of them, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
it's a big part of it. It's part of the responsibility of having
uh-huh.
an animal,
Yes, bro. I love having my chickens, dude.
especially one
I
like
got the
that.
permits and everything because I'm still in city limits, so I had to purchase a permit. But I don't know. I think that's one of my hobbies. Is just I don't taking care of these two chickens.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fun.
I have strange hobbies. I realize I haven't talked about mine yet. I like music too. Like that for us,
Haha,
our family, that just kind of runs in our blood. It's by
that's what's
default.
up.
Like we hear a tune and we gotta move. That's
Cool.
just how it is. But other ones like film. I love
Oh.
watching things and getting to do in-depth analysis.
Mm,
And film's one of my favorite mediums for that, and storytelling in general. But um it coincides with my other one, which I really love to do, which is talk, which is why I'm here.
oh, nice.
And
Yeah,
so
pasa tiempo. Yeah, or
yeah, it
passing the time.
is. I mean, and there's ways that I invest in that to make it more like special, like set apart that time, because it's not just like throw on for me. It's not just throw on a movie and have it kind of in the background while I scroll on my phone or something like that. Like I like to be super invested. I want to see what type of zooms that they were using for like transitions and stuff. I want to analyze the film at that level. That's just fun for me.
That's awesome. Um, and going off. of tending to my chickens.
Mhm.
I notice I like tending to my my rose bush. Maybe that's just the kind of person I am, you know. I'm helping these
Gardening.
students grow, and I don't know if that has any relationship. But yeah, I like taking care of my rose bush. I started doing that seriously like last year.
Mhm.
You know, like there's all kinds of stuff you have to do to like you have to prune it a certain way and wait for it to bloom and then prune it. I don't know. I just started getting into it. It's pretty cool.
And there's like specific uh timings for that, right? Like you can't just go
Yeah.
pruning willy-nilly. You gotta do
No, it's
specific.
after it blooms and then you can pick it and then you prune the thorns or branches that are going inside because you want
Mhm.
it to grow outwards. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
No, that is, and I think that ties in with the podcast theme in general. Just like what you're doing is you're taking part of your day, taking part of your time
Yeah.
to care for something else that's going to be
Yeah, that's
like
true. I
produced.
never,
So you're
yeah.
I doubt that you knew how to care for this thing like right off the bat, right? Like you had to have
No, no,
learned.
cause when I got this house, it came with that rose bush and
Hmm.
all I did was water it, dude. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just watering whatever. And then the next year I was like, you know what? I want to see this thing grow. I want it to get big. And yeah, I don't know. So I started, of course, looking on YouTube to, you know, what soil it needs. Um, oh, dude, this is where the chicken poop comes in handy. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah,
After
for
3 months,
fertilizer.
man, that fertilizer, oh man, it packs a punch. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. No, and that's yeah, no, that's a really beautiful thing because you did take that time to see that something needed tending to, like in order to live, and you
Yeah.
helped give it
All I was
life.
doing was just watering it. My- That's it.
And then you found out how to better care for it. And that's you
Yeah.
couldn't have done that without having like as you said who you are, which based off
There's
like and I see this a lot in teachers where they have to be, especially good teachers, they have to be compassionate to their
mm,
students, and they have to be very patient with them for their
oh
learning.
yeah.
And so that patience and that requires a bit of learning of the student themselves.
Right.
Like that's a big part of it. And so like this rose bush, like you tend to just take care of things and you tend to nurture things and make them grow. It seems like that's a big part of your personality. It seems like that's what I'm putting
Yeah.
together from this.
I think it started with my dog. I got this dang dog. He's gonna turn, hold on, 5. Oh my gosh, he's gonna turn 5 in February.
Oh wow.
So about 5 years ago, yeah, I adopted this dog, and uh, I don't know. Yeah, I raised him since he was a puppy. He's been great company towards me.
Yeah, animals are always like a great little not a project, but like when it comes to people who need a bit of healing in their life,
Hmm.
having to care for an animal um usually awakens them to like learning to take care of themselves too.
Yeah.
Because I know
Um.
when I was down bad in my apartment and I just got my cat, I was more
Hmm.
concerned. Like she was just a baby, and I'd spoken on
Hmm.
this before, but like she didn't want to eat at first when she first arrived, and it really worried me because she was still so small and she didn't want to eat a crumb because she was so scared of where she was. And so I spent most of my free time trying to coax her out and trying to make sure that she was like getting accustomed to the apartment. And I realized that that was the first time that I was allowing myself to be accustomed to my own apartment because I kind of didn't
Hmm.
walk around there too much either. I had I had this habit of just kind of leaving myself in my room, only going for work and then going back, and that was it.
Right.
And so now, like with her, I was like, oh, there's this part and like this part behind the curtains, and they work like this, and got to be careful with these blinds because they're actually really fragile. They broke off a few times because of her, because she was just always jumping in between them. And so I became more aware of everything because I became aware of this being that was now in front of me that I had to take care of because we were now in the same boat. If I wasn't making it, she wasn't making it either, you know, and I wanted her to make
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, dude. So would you consider raising your cat?
N-
Well, a hobby or
Not
how
hobby. I believe like it
like
would
we
have
just
become.
coexist, you know?
Yeah, no, we're just chilling
Yeah.
together. If it was more of a hobby, because I feel like there are hobbyists for cats, for pets, people who like maybe train them a little bit
Right.
more.
Ah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I see what you mean.
for cat people, people who are just like gonna invest them in like cat trees and putting things like those pipes so they run around like hamsters all over your walls and stuff.
I guess like so that would be like if me and my dog did those dog pageants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would never do that. He's part husky. This fool will barely listen to me. Have you seen that? A husky in one of those shows? They don't listen.
No, I haven't seen those actually.
Yeah, they don't listen. But yeah, those people, man, that's a hobby, huh? Doing the grooming and the posing and the going through those obstacles.
Yeah, all of
Practice
that.
that. Yeah.
No, it's super important. And
That's an interesting hobby.
one thing I wanted to focus on is like reasons why hobbies are important to have because
Hmm.
I was talking about my cat, but that wasn't a hobby. That was more of just like something
Right.
that
I
came
mean,
into my life.
yeah, hobbies just keep you sane too. I don't know. They just help keep you sane.
It keeps your focus on something.
That
Like it
too.
it make like instead of like your mind just wandering off, now you're
Yeah.
focused on this hobby. You're like, oh crap, like I got to keep up with this, you know. And it
Yeah.
just that's kind of ties in with what you're saying. Like it keeps you sane. Like it keeps you functioning. You know.
Yeah.
It and to other people it makes you interesting.
So, oh, that's interesting. What you just said there. To other people, it makes you interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
like
yeah,
how
because
I was appalled by those people in those dog shows, you know. I wouldn't do that, but it makes them interesting.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
it's something to talk about, I guess, on
Yeah.
yourself.
That's yeah.
yeah, because
Um,
like
Again, the word hobby in sign language is the sign for enjoy.
enjoy.
Yeah,
yeah, because I mean you have to enjoy it in order to do better at it, or just put your time like because you wouldn't be putting your time into that thing if you didn't enjoy it.
exactly. Yeah. That's why like my side hustle is door dashing,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't consider that a hobby because I don't enjoy it. I'm just trying to get
Hmm.
money.
Yeah, it's
Do you know
work.
what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so where do you guys think hobbies first like started popping up? Because you were mentioning staying sane, but staying sane from what?
Right. Yeah, you're just your own thoughts, I guess. I don't know.
Because what I find interesting about it
It's
is like everybody says like, oh, to keep yourself busy or to keep yourself doing something. And it's
yeah.
the idea of like, do we want to just keep working? Is that what we do? We just want to keep working on things because we're coming home from work and then these hobbies are supposed to be things that we work on
Right.
in time.
Yeah.
And so I'd done some research on it and it was hobbies didn't really start appearing until people started having free time.
Interesting.
Um I want to say around the Industrial Revolution, past that era, probably.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't want to give
let's go
something
farther back.
definitive.
Let's go farther back to the USA, the Native Americans, man.
Well, yeah,
They
even
didn't have jobs, they just had duties that they had to
mhm.
do. Or even go further back than that, to like the Stone Age. Like, people the goal was to survive. So I guess that's a form of work.
That
And
yeah,
I
there
wonder
was
what their
that.
hobbies were. Like these I think it was the Comanche. The
Mhm.
Comanche Indians, the kids, for fun, they would throw bugs and the kids would shoot arrows at the bugs. You know, they say the Comanches are like the best with the bow and arrow. And because that's what they would do for fun. The kids would shoot bugs with their,
Yeah, they'd have to
yeah,
get
their
real
bow.
accurate with that.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, like
But again,
that's their
that's an
pastime.
important, that was an important skill too.
For
You
hunting.
had, yeah, yeah. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, and
What were you gonna say about the Industrial Revolution? Sorry to
so
cut you off.
oh yeah, so in that I can't give a definitive time, but in America I know
Right.
that at some point people stopped working as often as they did, and they had the ability to stay at home for a period of time, like off time from work.
Mm,
They would
yeah.
have more time with their day than just working. And so it's kind of like, what do I do with that? And so,
That was when kids were working too.
yeah, exactly. And so there's
Child
playtime for
labor.
kids. There's playtime for kids, but I don't consider that a hobby because kids just gotta
Dude, I
play.
agree. Yeah.
That's just how it
It
is.
it's essential, man. My son, he's 3, and like just going outside and exploring, like that's part of his development.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing to be interested in. I mean, you expect them to be interested in that, like have that kind of curiosity at that age.
Yeah.
But people with hobbies would want, like, okay, I know it started with knitting.
Is that
That's
the origins of the hobby?
not the origins of it, but it's when that hobby to hustle pipeline kind of started almost.
Yeah.
Because people with, and especially in crafts work, just
Oh yeah. Oh man.
it is
Like the
just all
pottery?
of that. Yeah, it
Pottery,
just
dude. That's ancient. Yeah. That goes way back.
and it hobbyists for that didn't really start to emerge. Well, they've always been, but
Right.
in
Shoot,
America,
cave drawings, dude.
yeah, yeah, art. That's art. I want to make a video just on art,
Oh,
like
I see.
because that is not that we can't talk about it now. We can talk
Right.
about it now.
Yeah, that's a huge hobby.
But that's a huge thing that we throw
It's a beautiful hobby.
love into. Like
Oh
art,
yeah.
good art especially has a lot of love put into it, and you could tell. But going back to this, it was man, I want to give something specific and I can't remember the name of the TED Talk.
Hmm.
It had to do with the concept of what they call productive leisure.
Oh. Oh, like reading?
No, so something that you do in
Mm,
your leisure time, right? On your own,
right.
that still produces work.
Ah, oh, okay.
That's kind of how they started emerging. So a lot of women when they
Mm,
started doing their quilting projects, they did them in communities and they would use those communities to like to start talking to each other, and through that
nice. Yeah.
arose, I mean, through that arose like some of the first waves of feminism. I think that was the first wave actually, like the women getting together through quilting and then talking about it and everything that
Right.
they go through because they're just there with each other, right?
Yeah.
What else are you going to do when you're with people but talk?
Mm,
And so they get settled on these issues and they start to use their quilting as a way to talk about those issues.
yeah. So what you're saying is that hobbies can create community.
Mm-hmm. And we see that happen very often. How many communities are created out of people just
Just
doing what
doing
they
what they
love?
like. Oh yeah.
You can find, I think Reddit's a really funny place to find that because there's
Yeah, it is.
so many rabbit holes that you could go down. I mean, there's that one that's about fat shaming squirrels. There's one about stapling bread to trees. TV's too high. Just whatever type of image you want, it's probably on that website.
Yeah.
And it just communities grow out of just about anything.
I really do.
So then I guess that goes into like how do you share hobbies that you have? Like what are communities that you've become ingrained in because of the interests that you've developed?
Hmm. On Facebook, I was part of a Pokemon uh, group. Man, I love Pokemon. I love battling. I like the battlings.
The
This group,
competitive side?
yeah, single, yeah, competitive battles. And I just, I think I was looking for Pokemon, like to trade,
Mm-hmm.
and I found this group. I was like, okay, and then I asked for this specific Pokemon. They got me it. I was like, all right, that's cool. And then I don't know how it started. We just started chatting with each other. We formed a group chat, and I've never met them in person, man. But they're some of the coolest people, I think. I think we've been friends like 3 years now. This is all because I like Pokemon. Yeah, we
Yeah,
found a little community. Yeah.
that kind of story is super common, especially online. Just
Oh yeah.
it's so easy to find people in that on so many websites, especially earlier when it was like forums, and you could
Oh,
go
nice.
specifically to what you wanted to talk about,
Hell
and
yeah,
just like
Bionicles.
bionicle is a big one.
No, I'm just saying I love Bionicles.
Yeah, I heard it has pretty crazy lore. Actually, I kind of want to look into it.
There we go. Now we're gonna start a community, a Bionicles community. Oh man, yeah, I was in elementary when that stuff came out. Lego Technic, Lego Technic
I remember those
came
two.
out with Bionicle. Oh man, me and my friend Mikey. Oh, we would collect the Bionicles, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
so talking about like early childhood development and why it's important to have a hobby, that
hmm
sense of community is such an important thing, which is people that I think having an interest like that at a young age helps to kind of segue into those social interactions at that early age.
Yeah.
So having something for your kid to be involved in early childhood, something that they're really ingrained in, that they do outside of school, is
Right.
would be like super important to their development. What you're able to do for that depends on your situation.
Yeah. I'll probably put my kid in soccer.
Yeah, sports is a big one because it's super
Yeah.
easy to be a part of a team there. You're by default
hmm
in a team.
Yeah. Gotta pass the ball. If you don't, you look like a jerk.
Yeah, exactly. You learn social
hmm
skills like that. Like
Yeah.
you have to work together, you have to work with each other. And so through having an interest like that, it helps the child develop into somebody more sociable once they become an adult.
Yeah. If you don't speak up, they're not gonna pass you the ball. Yeah.
So what about for kids that would say you have that have stranger hobbies? Because there are,
Kids, that's stranger hobbies.
yeah, well, not stranger hobbies, but as a kid,
Uh-huh.
like you don't have the same mindset as we do now.
Of
If you
course.
see a kid like um playing with bugs, for example, like as another kid, you're gonna think he's kind of weird. Sometimes. Like
Yeah,
if you
you're
see a
right.
kid out just like in the mud or playing with bugs and animals, like a
Oh
lot of
man.
people have that, especially at that young age, that he's more of a social outcast or she. Them,
Mm,
they are.
right. Hmm. Well, one thing I remember from my childhood was that I liked Power Rangers, but
Mhm.
I did not tell anyone that.
You
You
like
would
felt
get made
ashamed at
fun
that
of.
time?
I think so. So I was like, I don't know, maybe 7 years old or something, and still watching Power Rangers, but I didn't care. but I didn't tell anyone.
So how did that like interest like hold on like throughout the
Oh
years? Well,
man,
because I looking
freaking,
at your profile
they're
picture here,
cool. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah,
yeah,
dude,
you
the
got a
Green
Power Ranger
Ranger.
there.
Yeah, they're just cool. All the karate and the monsters, they grow huge like Godzilla.
But
Yeah, giant robot. That was cool.
you feel a lot like easier talking about it now. When did that kind of click? When did that change for you?
That's interesting. I don't know. Maybe there's a point when you become like a full grown adult and you just don't care what anyone thinks. I don't know.
More aware. So like my favorite quote is
Uh-huh.
I'm cringe, but I'm free.
Whoa, who said that?
And I don't know. I heard it somewhere
That's
and
a
I've been
good one.
repeating it
That's a good one,
because
dude. Like
yeah,
Bionicle, dog.
is it something like
I
that?
love Bionicle.
Does it have a message like that in there? Or
No,
what?
no, I'm just
Oh.
saying it's cringe to some people, but I don't care.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
no,
free,
no.
dog. I get to collect my Bionicles, my masks.
Exactly. You're doing what you
Shoot.
enjoy. That's what's most important.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an important mindset to have, like have that kind of freedom in your mental space, especially as a kid, that you can be that and it's all right.
Yeah.
Because once again, I don't think playing with bugs is particularly a bad thing. Like I know a lot of kids
Right.
who would do something like that and they're studying them, they're getting to know them.
I know, right? Yeah, they could get into entomology.
Yeah.
Shoot.
But um, it like it's okay to have like weird like little hobbies, right? Or
Yeah.
just a regular one, right? But the second it becomes an obsession,
Oh,
that's when things get like a little weird, and that's when some people are like, "Ooh, like he's weird,"
like
because they're just so
hoarders.
obsessed.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
hoarders.
like hoarders. Like they just becomes a problem, and
Interesting.
it's like to
Right,
other people
their
it doesn't seem
hobby was
fun.
right, their hobby was probably like collecting stuff and then it just got out of hand.
It they
I guess.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
gets
know.
out of hand. That's
That's
one like
interesting.
major problem with hoarding, with people like they collect stuff and then they just don't stop. Like they don't find like a good stopping point, or like a good like just a
Shoot.
good or like a healthy way to handle it. Like
Interesting.
I remember a little while ago, like I want to say like 5 months ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my dad, we went to this guy's house, right? We were gonna help him build like a fountain, right? But this guy's house, everything was Disney or like Mickey Mouse. But it wasn't. It was like a tad bit much. It was cool, but there was a point where it was like whoa, like that's a lot. Like there was in the his house, he has like little gates to like kind of guard it. And in the gates, there's a Mickey and there's a Minnie on each side. And then when you walk through, like in the tile, there's like little Mickeys like everywhere. In the pool, there's like in the lights, there's like little Mickeys. He even has a disco, and the handles are Mickey and Minnie Mouse. It was pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And inside his house, he let us inside, and he let us in one of the rooms. And when we walked in, he told us to look like in front of us, like near like a little bit up, and there was a Mickey Mouse waving at us. Like it was inside of the paint, like in the what's it called? What's the stuff that you put on under the paint? Like
The primer?
the mud, or like what
Stucco?
like the something, yeah, like the
The
I forget what it's called, but like in that
plaster?
plaster, yeah, yeah, in the
Uh,
plaster, they made a Mickey Mouse waving at you. And then he said, "But who's that Mickey Mouse waving at besides you?" And you look above the door, like inside the room, and there's a Minnie Mouse waving back inside of the plaster.
He's got it all
Like
set up there.
everything. Yeah, like everything. And like in the living room, there's like this big old like case just full of like just souvenirs, like figurines and stuff. Like it was pretty crazy. But it was like I don't think it was bad enough to call it an obsession, because like there was like parts of the
mm,
house that were like really like just regular, normal, and he wouldn't talk about it all the time, but like he was just kind of showing it off because it's pretty cool.
mm.
No,
Well,
but
well, that guy's
go
kind
ahead.
of easy to get a birthday present for at least. Like you know what he wants.
Yeah.
That's interesting because so we talk about hobbies a lot. I think I want to bring it. You ever watch Silver Linings Playbook?
Yeah, with Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, so there's a couple scenes in that I now relate to because I've seen conversations like that in real life, and I think it's really funny. You know when the men are both talking and they're in the room alone, what they're talking about is like all the expansions and the extensions that they're adding to the house. And he's just kind of giving him a tour, showing him off. He's like, "Oh yeah, I added this, and it has this much square feet, and it cost me this much, and there was this and that." And he goes into detail about like everything, and it makes me think about how people do that once they're at that level of enthusiasm with their interest. Because in that one, it wasn't his hobby; he was doing it because of his wife. She wanted a bigger
Mm,
house. But
right, right.
if you've ever talked to car enthusiasts,
Mm.
they
Oh, they
just
drop
list off.
money.
Yeah, first of all, they're dropping a lot of money on their stuff, but then
Uh-huh.
they're able to list off parts like that, like serial numbers and like super specific things. It's
Yeah.
pretty impressive because they know how like the engine works. They know all the different parts to it. Every component that goes into making that vehicle work in the first place, they understand it to an extent.
Right.
Same
Like
thing with like
going.
sneakerheads.
Uh-huh.
Like they're all about like shoes and
Oh
like everything.
yeah.
Like they don't want to get them messed up. Like they put them in like little cases. They put them on like shelves and all that. Show them off.
Yeah.
It's
Take care of them, but uh,
That's a pretty crazy hobby. Like another hobby in itself. Like I
It
think
is.
sneakerheads and like people who like car enthusiasts. I feel like sometimes those people like they do the same thing. Like they're both kind of like the same. It's just a different object.
people who keep track of like player stats in sports games, and we're able to give you like the stats based off the year, based off the game, and all of that. That's another like really impressive thing for me, honestly.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy how people just can just keep track of it and then they could tell you like what it is on the top of their head and to a certain extent they could tell you when it happened too.
Well,
Mm.
that's I was talking to somebody who said that they wanted to get into like sports business, right? Like they when I was in college, and they were giving me so much information. Like I didn't know how in depth um you had to be involved at sports, like at just a commentary level. Like the amount of knowledge that you have to have about the players on the field, not even the players on the field at the time, just in general and their history with each other. Those are the people who give the most interesting commentary.
Especially the ones that enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like Joe Rogan's a big one on UFC.
Yeah,
His
yeah, he's
commentaries
a
on
big
the
one.
fights.
Yeah, and then like for people who are WWE enthusiasts and keep track of all the
Oh yeah.
storylines to the years,
And then the Mexican commentators for soccer. Holy moly. Holy cow. It's something
yeah,
they enjoy though, right?
exactly. But
Again, hobby in sign language is the sign for enjoy.
and he was telling me like in order to even get a job like that or even be considered for the position, he had to like take tests about the team that he was going to be managing. Like he wanted to manage a team. He would talk to me about commentary at some point, but he'd wanted to manage a team. That was his biggest thing. And he had to know so much history about that team specifically to even be considered for managing it or coaching it. And he had him down like 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 that. Like we were testing him on it
Mm-hmm.
and just verbatim what he needed to say. He had it down.
That's what's I think that's how I'm trying to be with Spanish and English. I would love to like just translate on the spot. It's hard though. It's really difficult.
It's a lot of fun. One thing that
Yeah, that's
one
why I'm
language that
looking
I
at
study,
words, you know.
one language
Mm.
that I study is Japanese. I've been
Oh,
studying that for a good 4
did you
years
take
now.
it at NMSU?
No, I that
Oh,
was
dude, with
independent.
Moma Sensei. Oh my gosh, she's cool. I took 1 year of Japanese.
I'll have to do it, but I do have textbooks, but I didn't go to school for it. It was something I did on my
Mm,
own time.
good, good.
And I noticed because the main reason I started even learning it was from watching anime. I really loved
Oh,
anime.
nice.
I love the storylines that they had,
Oh,
and it stuck with me in high school. And music from Japanese music, I started listening to that because of it. And so I
that's what's
got
up.
really ingrained in that culture. And then I realized I don't understand a single thing they're saying.
Mm.
I hear all these words, and it sounds like just gibberish to me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, after I think a baby turns like 9 months, something really young, the baby will start ignoring foreign sounds and only focus on the target language that's in their environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
It's pretty
interesting.
interesting. It's wild. Yeah, yeah.
What about for kids that grow up bilingual? Do they end up learning it
Under
like
if you're under the age 13 and you learn a new language, um, you won't have an accent. If you learn a new language after the age like 13, around there, then unfortunately you're stuck with an accent. There's nothing you could do about
you're gonna have a foreigner's
it.
accent just when?
Yeah, because
Like,
there's a Spanish teacher
Mhm.
across from me. Dude, she's hired language coaches, man, so she could get rid of her Spanish accent and try to speak English better or without the accent, you know?
Mhm.
It's impossible, bro. I wanted to break it to her, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. I don't want her to get mad.
so even if
You
you
could
like,
try, bro. You could try.
so like even if you surround yourself in that environment with other accents, like you won't pick it up. Because I've heard
How
like
old are you though? How
people,
old are you? If you're under 13, you won't have
mm,
an accent because you're still going through puberty, you know, your
you're still
muscles,
developing.
yeah, your tongue
Mm.
um forms with that language. It's very interesting.
That is interesting. But
It is super interesting.
so yeah, I started learning because I realized I didn't understand everything I was actually listening to. And
Yeah.
the grammar for the longest time was so backwards for me because it's
Yes. Yeah, like I, Rolando, am. Watashi wa Rolando des.
yeah, and
I, Rolando, am instead of
the
I am Rolando. It's
the most
interesting.
basic sentence is like well, just like a verb like taberu, which means to eat,
Oh, to
but it could
eat?
mean like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that is the sentence, just the verb itself. Like you don't need anything else. Everything else is implied.
Well, there's uh what else? There's tabete, taberu. I honestly don't know what those mean, but
So yeah, those are different conjugations of it, and
uh-huh, those are conjugations. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that part was a little bit difficult for me. But at the start, it was just understanding
Oh,
like the grammar
tabemas.
points.
Let's eat. Tabemas. Let's eat. I think. I think mas, tabemas is the basic form. I don't know.
Taberu
Like
is the
comer.
basic form. Tabemas is
Oh,
the polite
taberu.
form.
Oh. Ah, okay. Dang,
Yeah,
that's
tabete is the te form, and that's that connects it to other like you
that's
could say
pretty
tabete
good.
kite, and it means like come here to eat.
Nice. Ah,
And so it's just you're
I
able to put
really like
extensions.
I really love that they have the question mark as a word.
Mm-hmm. The ka.
Like the ka. Yes, dude, I love that. It's a trip. We don't pronounce the question mark.
No, it's tonal, and actually sometimes for them it's
It's
tonal
awesome,
too.
huh?
Um,
Yeah.
on occasion, no will be used.
No?
Yeah, as a question marker as well, and that as a sentence ender is just used a
Oh,
lot for a bunch of different reasons. But um,
interesting.
getting back to it, like with the grammar, right? That part for
Mm.
the longest time didn't really translate with me because it was backwards. You're not saying like I threw the
Yeah.
ball. The ball threw is what you would.
Dude, so when I was studying sign language, I was taking Japanese at the same time.
Mhm.
That helped me learn Japanese a lot, was learning
Because
sign language, because it's the same
it has the
structure
same,
almost.
yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's wild, huh?
Yeah, no, that does help a lot. And understanding how that works. Okay, so this was my favorite one is using verbs to describe as like as an adjective. Because
Uh-huh.
so we could say like the cup fell, right? So
Okay.
in English it would now become the fallen cup, right?
Right.
So it would, so you
Uh-huh.
would say kapu, right? Because that's the cup. And then the
Yeah.
verb for fallen, like something that has fallen, is ochita.
Ochita.
So it would be ochita kapu, which means
Ochitako.
fallen cup, the cup that is fallen, right?
Uh-huh.
So you could use that to it's an adjective. You're modifying the noun. But the way that you do that, it's always before the noun, and it could be so many different types of things. And we do this in English too, where it's like the person who's eating, right? So the
Yeah.
person is the noun, and now the adjective that we're using as a verb is who is eating. And so in Japanese it would be tabeteiru hito, because tabeteiru is like currently eating, and
Uh-huh.
hito is person, so currently eating person.
Hito's one person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's there's a
So
lot of,
specific with that, yeah.
what do they call them, cognates, is that the right
For
word?
what?
That no, a lot of times words just sound the same, like kami.
Yeah, that's a
Kami
cognate.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
just
Yeah.
They have a cognate in Spanish. Pan?
fun, yeah.
Pan?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
cognate is
Because
across languages, right?
well, pan is bread, and in Japanese, pan is
It's
bread.
still bread.
So,
Homophones was
what's
the
it
word I
called?
was looking for.
The Portuguese traded bread with Japan, so they just called it pan.
Oh, and that's how that word. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
That's
then,
why they have that word.
Double, what were you saying? I know you were trying to speak earlier, or I guess not. I might have missed that.
No worries.
Um, yeah, no. So finding that out helped speed up the process of that, of like being able to translate more on the fly, because now I understand. And we do it so often in English, just modifying the nouns in those very strange ways.
Uh-huh.
And since I found out that we could do that in English, I'm like, why don't I just do it in this language too, in its own way that it does it?
Mm.
And so that's helped me a lot with the translating more on the fly. Is just kind of understanding that that language is going to be different, and when I hear it, I don't try to turn it into English. I try to make sure that I
No.
process that language first.
Yes, you had to convey the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like
Yeah, it
listening to
is.
the feeling that the word gives you. You
Yeah,
have to
dude.
understand the feeling of the word, and through that, that's like the definition almost for me. That's the definition of the word, the
Nice.
feeling that it gives. And the
Right.
more I understand that, more than just the dictionary definition, which you do need the basis of, but the more you can just go off the feeling of it, the less you have to do the translating in the first place.
Yeah. So how would you translate echar ganas?
Echar ganas.
Uh-huh. Echarle ganas.
Echar ganas, like put in work.
I guess the ganas.
Yeah, like pues para ganar, right? To increase, to
Uh-uh.
win.
No. Well,
Almost.
see, that's the literal translation though.
Right? But it,
It's hard to translate that word like no tengo ganas. Like I don't feel like doing it. No tengo ganas.
yeah, so that's the interesting thing,
Mm,
because oh wow, this is gonna turn
ganas.
into a thing about
I
language.
know. Oops. Well, still, hey, it's a hobby, man.
Yeah.
Studying languages.
Um So one of my
We could save it for your next one.
no, I don't mind.
Yeah, all right.
Idioms.
Okay.
Idioms is a big thing because those don't translate
Oh,
very well at
yes,
all.
yes. Nice. Yeah.
And
Idioms. Those are fun.
more especially with Japanese. Japanese has a lot of kind of
Oh, itadakimasu?
no,
Like
not
what?
exactly that. Like, okay,
No, you can't translate that. It's something they say before they eat, you know? It's
oh yeah, something
like
that's not
in
translatable.
the subtitles they'll just put "let's dig in," but that's not what they're
It's
saying.
it's kind
They're
of like
just
saying
saying
grace before they eat.
yeah, itadakimasu, and then you eat.
Um,
Sorry to cut you off.
no, it's different. So it's almost like so kanji's kind of poetic in a way because they tell
Yeah.
stories in a sense. Like the word for the kanji for rest has
Mhm.
the has this kanji for tree and the kanji for person, right? And it's supposed to
That's
kind of be
cool.
like a person resting up on the tree, and that
That's
is
awesome.
rest. But another like and when it comes to explaining things like an entrance or an exit,
Hmm.
so the word for exit is deguchi, right?
Okay.
De coming from the I mean the kanji is sometimes pronounced deru, dasu, but
Mm.
it's used for a lot of different things. It's used for like exit, departure, to appear. It's just kind of this
Mm.
idea, right,
Mm.
of exiting in this case. And then Gucci is coming from Kuchi, which is a mouth or an opening. And so that is the exit, the opening that's like appearing outwards almost. You can't do them directly. Like if you do them directly, you're gonna sound kind of dumb, like I did right there. But
Yeah.
it means exit.
Yeah.
And so another one's like ageru, right? Is often used when you give somebody something.
Ageru.
Yes, which is to also to increase or to go up. The kanji is just the idea of upwards movement. How we use that is it like shows a lot about the language. So when you give somebody something, it's with the te form of the verb and then like ageta. So you gave it to them. You gave it up to them. It was the gift up.
Nice. Huh. Yeah, so Japanese is one of your hobbies, huh?
Yeah, no,
Would you
well,
consider
language
it?
in general. I kind
Oh,
of I want to study more
nice.
in
You like
general.
linguistics?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Love to learn Hindi and Russian,
Ooh,
as
whoa.
well. Yeah, make
Uh-huh.
them a little bit more diverse. I know there's not too much overlap between how those languages. Um,
Yeah, those are different
yeah, the farther back on the tree
trees.
you go on that, they don't connect too
Yeah.
well. That's
No.
where it would be fun.
Yes, yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, for me, like being able to talk about all these things, like first of all, it helps me do something like we were able to connect off of that because I didn't know you were into language like that until
Right.
now,
You're right.
and so now we have something that we can talk about.
That
Um,
is true.
the last episode I had a friend on, and I brought examples about a One Piece because we both love that anime, and so I
Nice.
brought up
Uh-huh.
examples about that. So just things that we're interested in, we're able to talk about, and through that, I mean, the lessons that
Yeah,
we've learned, we're able to share them, and that's what this cast is all about.
for sure. Let me think of another hobby I got. Um, hmm. I mean, I guess gaming. I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've always gamed. I
That's
guess
that
that's a hobby.
that's a game that requires a lot of dedication to it too, because like every level on it is kind of a big undertaking. Like you got to prepare a lot for them.
Yeah, I love it.
You need a lot of forward thinking for that.
And now that I'm older with a kid, I like casual games, man. Sometimes I'll play Peggle too. just just 'cause I don't know. First of all, I don't want my son to see, some crazy violent stuff. Not yet, but yeah, so I have to tone it down
Oh, I get what you
and
mean.
just relax. Yeah, no big deal. When he's
So,
asleep, yeah, that's when I could play like Fallout or something.
uh, something with a little something above rated T.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, so with the idea of like having too many hobbies,
Mm,
the the way that I saw it broken down is that there's three resources that we give into our hobbies, right? And we're finite on all of these.
hmm.
And it's time, money, and life.
Time, money, and life.
You gotta sacrifice a bit of all three of those for your hobby. Like that's why you can only have like a few actual dedicated hobbies, and everything else would be just considered interests. Because there's only like a
Yeah,
few things that realistically you can put into without throwing your work life balance completely out of whack.
right. What was it again? Time, money,
Yeah,
life.
time, money, and life. Yeah, you're not just
Uh,
giving like because time and life like you might use them interchangeably almost,
right.
but how I'm using life is more so you're putting yourself into it. It's not just your time that you're
Nice.
dedicating because you could waste time standing in line at a grocery store, but you did not put life into it. You wasted life. You did not put life into it. You just did it.
Nice.
If you
All
put
right.
life into waiting time into the grocery store, you would be very like mentally aware of what's going on around you. You would have that what do they call it? I can't think of the word right now. Mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
You'd be putting more time into being mindful of that environment. That would be putting more life into that
Mm,
situation.
hmm.
But yeah, that level of like personal that it's something that you do. You have skin in the game based off this interest.
Hmm.
It's a more integral part of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I mean, what are things? I guess now that if we want to zero in on something that we would consider a hobby now, with those
Hmm.
three in particular, what's something that you like that you do put a lot of life into? What is like that one
Hmm.
thing that no matter what you want to keep giving into that
Wh- And it's a hobby?
as a hobby? Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Huh.
I think for me that would still be music.
That's
Like
what's
in
up.
my case, that would still be music because that's really one of my that's my biggest hobby out of anything else that I've ever done. That is the biggest like hobby. That's the thing that I've put the most time, money,
Hmm.
and my life into. Because I've been doing music for roughly 3 years now, and
Yeah.
I've really grown a lot. I've learned a lot,
That's what's up, man.
and I've
Keep
put
keep going.
and I've yeah, and I've put
Yeah.
like my life into it. Like almost anytime I have free time, I'll just be playing just to keep myself sharp. And that's just something that I don't think I'll ever give up. Like really, no matter what,
So
that's just something I'll put my life into.
when you say
Nice.
music, just because that's so broad, because music could be a lot of things. What
Yeah.
specifically about music? Because like
I
I know you like playing a lot. Like that's the biggest one, right?
Yeah, playing and then really kind of like learning too, because
yeah.
if I hear like a new song, I'll like first thing I do, I'll see what it does. Where does it go to? Does it go to a certain minor? Does it have key change? What does it do? And then
Mm,
after like I'll like have that in mind, I'll like pick up like my guitar or like whatever instrument I'm trying to learn it on,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll figure out the keys and like I'll actually figure out what happens from there. And then after know what happens, I could like mess around with it a little bit, do like some runs, make it like, sound, make it my own, like that's
Yeah.
just like part of the learning process, because most it's like once you learn it, then you start changing it up a little bit, making it your own, so it's not like the same thing like as
Yeah.
like the recording. You're making it different. You're spicing it up.
Yes.
Mhm.
I know exactly what you mean, man. I've been playing the drums 4 months, but um, I guess I'm considered classically trained. I was in band music for like 7 years, dude. That's like a quarter of my life. No, seven for yeah, that's
Yeah,
literally a
that's a
quarter of my life, man. So I'm classically trained, so I picked it up pretty fast. And then my best friend, Aaron Wheeler, shout out to Aaron Wheeler. He's also classically trained, and he shreds on the guitar, man. And I I notice, dude, this sounds tacky, like really tacky, but our music, dog, like comes from our heart or something, because we just invent stuff. I guess that would be improv, right?
Mhm.
Because
Well,
we don't play anything. We invent it. He's just going off stuff. I go off, you know, whatever symbol sounds right, because I have an electric drum kit, so that's super handy. But
well, yeah,
yeah, I
with
put a lot of life in that. Like I feel like I think I disconnect, man. Like that scene in Step Brothers when he said he saw himself floating and looking at himself. Dog, that's
yeah,
me.
or like I'm sure you guys have seen the movie Soul, right? You know that movie
Yes.
So
Soul.
yes.
Oh
Well, like
yeah, yeah.
when they get into the zone, like that's they call it the zone. Like
Yes,
when
dude.
you get
Oh,
invested into it, all of a
that's
sudden
the
you're in this zone, and
that's the best
you just
feeling.
start you just start doing something, and it's like it's hard to get back into it,
Yeah,
and
dude, we gotta
it's hard
jam
to get out of it
sometime.
too. Like
So it's
Yeah.
interesting that
yeah,
you
but
bring
like
up that
that's
movie because that movie overall has it has a very different theme. It's not just about hobbies. It's about the meaning that they were put on this earth in the first
Oh
place,
yeah,
right?
it was really deep. Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
I mean I want to talk about that movie a little bit, but I want to stay on topic too.
of course.
Um would you say that your hobby is like your reason for life here?
No, nah, man. I don't know. I'm just going with the flow, dude. That's how I got this job too at Centennial. It's it's just mind blowing. Same thing with becoming the esports coach. Like what? Like and the chess coach. That's just stuff I like to do. It's nuts. I don't know.
But so going back to like, so I defined you earlier as like somebody who likes to nurture, right? Make things grow. If we go back to
Yeah.
that being your hobby,
Uh-huh.
how many times have you put yourself in places where you could do exactly that all your life? Like think about that
What do you mean?
because you're telling me that you're a teacher, that you're a
Yeah.
coach, you're heads of the esports team. You've taken care of these
It's
rose bushes, these chickens.
it's just
You
things I
have
like, bro.
Well, then you have this, like you have a stepson too, right?
I have a son,
A
a
son,
biological son. Yeah.
biological son. So you see, like
Yeah.
you have in your person, you
Uh-huh.
have this instinct almost to nurture and
It
to
might
create
come from
growth.
my from like the paternal side or something, like my dad and
Mm-hmm.
my mom's dad, my grandpa. Dude, they're like the king of chill. They know how to relax and just live life. I always looked up to them for that.
Yeah,
Oh no.
that's such a beautiful thing too. Like how we carry on those parts of other people within
Yeah,
ourselves.
when my grandpa was alive, I would visit him, and dude, we would just sit outside all day. Um at first I think it was a little irritating because I wanted to do something, but I
Mm-hmm.
was doing something. I was just chilling with my grandpa, so I don't know. It was really interesting, man. We would just chill outside. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
there was. Ooh,
that might
what
have
was?
taught me some sort of patience, cause I don't know. There's times where I'll purposefully turn off my phone or just leave it somewhere and just go about my day like my
Mhm.
grandpa would. I don't know.
No, I that's something that I hear a lot too. From a bunch of people is just like you do this thing kind of like your dad does.
Yeah,
That's super common, and it
yeah.
makes me wonder
He
how much
he
of
was
our
he was
personality is instinct from just seeing how we grew up, like just adapting
exactly.
around those people that we grew up around.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, especially with like friends that you hang out with too. Like if you're going to school, right? Say you're still like say you'd still be in school, right? And
Hmm.
you're hanging out with these friends, and like there's like a specific phrase or like this little thing that they do like on certain times, and then like after a while, like after hanging out with them for like let's say like maybe like a year or so, like all of a sudden you start doing that, and you start picking up things that they started doing, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes you don't even realize it unless someone
Hmm.
points it out,
Yeah.
and like that goes with
Iron
like friends
sharpens
and
iron.
family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with friends and family, like people that you're closer with, people that you hang out with, they're like you start to pick up with that, like you start to pick up on their things, and they'll pick up on your things.
Yeah.
And what was I gonna say? No, there's this thing that my dad said. It was like it was something like along of um like you are like who you're with. You know, like if you go up to someone and be like, "Who are you?" or and like they would answer, it's like, well, like who do you like who are you with, like what
Mm.
kind of people are you around, because the kind of people that you're around is also what you are, because that's why else would you be with them.
Yeah.
Hmm. I know I brought up okay, so I wanted to bring it back just a little bit.
Hmm.
Going back to the whole purpose in life with our hobbies.
Ah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Like
how you kind of place yourself in those positions,
it's just things I like, bro.
but think about like how important that is because as people, you know, of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like that's not new news to you.
What's that? I don't know.
So basically, it's this idea.
Did you say Pavlov?
No, Maslow. I don't know why I said
Oh.
Maslow. Maslow.
Uh-uh.
So
What is it?
it's this idea that humans have this kind of pyramidal structure for the tip is self actualization, and that is in a way a need for a person.
Hmm.
But before they're able to meet that, they need to meet everything below on the pyramid. And at
Interesting.
the very bottom of that is like your basic survival,
Oh, okay.
right? Because if you're not mentally well, right? If you're not living if you have no shelter over your head, it's going to be really difficult to focus on like wanting to move forward with your passion, right?
Got it. I understand. Yeah.
Like if
Okay.
if you have those types of pressures on you, it's going to be a
Hmm.
lot harder to involve yourself into a hobby so that you can get to this point where you're growing from it and you can self actualize.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you mean now.
Because
Um.
we're talking about these flow states like in soul, right?
Right.
And if you could think about that, if that is the peak performance that we could be at, then that's a self actualization.
Hmm.
Do you think you're putting yourself in positions where you can be like that and you can share
Yeah.
the
I
growth
am.
that you've gotten?
Yeah, a little bit. I remember as a kid. Well, no, as a high schooler, my dad would tell me he would get these offers on like running a crew for like the roofing company he worked for.
Mm-hmm.
And but he would reject it even though he was going to get paid like substantially more. The reasoning was he said he was just gonna get stressed and lose his 8 hours of sleep. He said he needs his 8 hours of sleep. And honestly, I'm like that now, maybe because of him. I need my sleep, dude. If I'm not sleeping 7 hours, I could do seven. The least maybe 5 hours of sleep, but
But you do gotta
I
take
need
care of
five because
yourself a bit, yeah.
yes. So I was just like, I don't know. I noticed that the things he says, just like what the heck, this guy's turning down money like for his well-being. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
a lot of people they'll get stressed working like that, and they'll
I
If you
they'll
don't
don't
put
know.
yourself, if you don't put yourself first for any of that, you're not gonna be able to perform. You won't be able to operate.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I mean, how many people start like dying earlier from stress? Isn't it proven that people who are like stressing out most of their lives die
God.
earlier?
Yeah,
And
dude.
they age faster too.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
That's
what
bro.
it is.
why,
Age
because they age
faster.
faster.
Yeah, like they show the pictures of the president before and after, like George Bush and
And
Obama.
that's just 4 years, yeah.
For real.
Like it's a lot of pressure that's put on them, and it shows on their body.
Yeah.
And so yeah, no, taking good care of your body so that it can continue to work like later and longer too. Super important.
Yeah. And it's crazy. My dad just he loved construction, bro. I don't know anyone who's done roofing for like 20 years. That's ridiculous. He's nuts.
Yeah,
Gosh.
I helped out with a roofing
It's,
job once, and that's why it was only once.
dude,
So,
this dude did it 20 years, man. I'm like, dang. He's crazy. He tried to get a GED and then he was like, screw this. Why am I going to get a GED if I'm going to roof? What am I going to tell the roofers I got a GED? So he dropped out. Gosh. Sheesh. So I guess I looked up to that. Just stick to what I like to do.
yeah, it's a
And
big part of it.
it's been good to me. Also the not stressing part, yeah, my students cheat, man. They Google Translate, they do this, whatever.
Mhm.
Um why am I gonna stress over that? The school system's broken. They should maybe I don't know, ban Google. Shoot. I don't know. And then I tell the kids too, I'm just like, look, I only see you guys like under 50 minutes. You're not gonna learn Spanish. Like, I'm sorry. Um, I can lay a little foundation for them if they want to take it. If they cheat, they're obviously not. They're just hurting themselves. Um,
Yeah, because they're not learning the
uh,
material.
yeah. The only way to really learn the language is to
Investing.
immerse yourself. Immerse yourself. Don't hear any English. Don't speak any English. It's the only way.
So this was one of the benefits that I was talking about when it came to like the diversity between hobby and career, is
Hmm.
that when people have a certain seriousness in that hobby and they start working really hard towards it, it ingrains that mentality and it puts into practice hard work
Hmm.
just in general. And so having a foundation for hard work in any field means that you have a foundation for hard work and that you
Yes,
as a
yeah. I'm
person
trying
can
to
start
give
to
them that.
adapt it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's the
If they
really important
cheat,
part of
that's on
hobbies
them. Yeah, yeah.
for me is that it you have to take it a certain level. You have to be serious about it to a certain level because
Exactly.
how else are you supposed to live life if not enjoying things and putting time into the things you enjoy, right? Even if it's as simple as
Nice.
baking bread,
Yeah.
giving yourself that time to do those things, it helps
Yeah.
everywhere in your development.
And and then there's some kids that I think they just threw them in my Spanish class
Mhm.
that didn't pick it, and so why am I gonna give them a hard time? They didn't want to be in it. I I, I don't know.
Where
Crazy,
so
huh?
you were saying you learned a lot of things from like your grandfather and your father and the things that they've said, but based
Yeah.
off like your interests, what are
Uh-huh.
some lessons that have like carried over? into your career. So based off the things that you've learned, just like with the studying,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, a big one was I'm huge on fighting games. I love playing fighting games.
Dude, me too. What? I'm excited for Tekken 8. It's
Oh,
gonna drop
it looks so
tomorrow.
good. It looks so good. But
Anyway, sorry,
but
where were you going?
personally, there's only a certain level of investment that I go.
Mm,
Um, but that the level of investment that I had was something that worked for me because of course I needed to have my work life balance set out right.
yeah,
I'm not the type of person going reading frame data and all of that. I'll listen about it and I'll try to understand as much as I can. But at the end of the day, when I'm playing the game, it's all about the feeling that I have while I'm playing.
nice.
It's
Same,
not,
man.
yeah, it's not so much about that, those numbers and all that. That's fine, but it's
Yeah,
not how I go into that hobby. But it's something that I
fearless.
learned is that I go off of feeling a lot.
Yeah,
Like I was telling you earlier, when I was translating things in my head, that it made it a lot easier to understand the feeling of the word than it did to
nice.
understand that this word means this.
Yeah,
And so that I've learned that from playing video games, that that's how my brain works, and I really need to like involve myself in the learning process in order to do anything. And from that, like recently, we have a little bit of an art project going on at work, right? And
mm,
I've never put together, it's not exactly a sculpture, but we're putting together a bunch of cardboard to make a dragon, pretty much.
nice.
I've never worked on something at this scale before in my life. Everything that I've done has been very small little, like I could fit every piece of artwork that I've done on a piece of notebook paper for the most part. Like they don't get bigger than that. That's my maximum canvas for the most part. And so by actually starting the project and like seeing how it started to form, I was able to get a better idea of how it would start to look finished. Because at the beginning, I was just like, okay, it might do this. But the more I
Mm,
got into it, I learned that it wasn't going to. Because I was planning on putting it over a stair railing and kind of having its head dip down and have an open mouth and all that. Bunch of
okay.
ideas. Not all of those ideas are making it to the end. The way that I'm gonna keep it onto the railing, it's changed like 4 or 5 times just off the design that I have right now. Just because as I'm going, things are changing and I'm seeing how they're changing. Now that I have a more midway point, I'm able to have that idea like, okay, it's going in this direction, and that's how I work.
Hmm.
I know now, based off
Okay.
the more I've involved myself, how to make it better, how to make it more complete.
Nice. Um, I'm really big into, huh, I guess I never realized this until this talk. I'm into emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, when I teach, it's very structured. Uh, the kids know what they're expecting. I try not to throw them off.
Mm-hmm.
So it creates this emotional well-being. What's it called? When you repeatedly do things, what's it called?
I have it.
A routine.
Oh,
Routine.
routine. Okay.
Yes, yeah, I love creating routines for them. And I forgot which psychologist said this, but yeah, routines create emotional well-being. And so I try to give that to my students. On Mondays, go over vocab. On Tuesdays, we look at grammar. Wednesdays, I give them a listening assignment. Thursday, uh, review the stuff from Monday through Wednesday. Friday, give them a test, an exam. And that's my week, dude. I,
So
and it sucks that I hear other teachers trying this out, trying this. Dude, I don't want to experiment, bro. I just want to teach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
What do you mean, like by trying this and trying that? Like, what are they trying to implement?
I don't know. Maybe Gustavo could tell you because I heard the other teacher trying, like, uh, what was she doing? She's showing like audios and stuff.
Um,
Or like, does she have a routine like I do? Like Mondays is this, Tuesdays this, Wednesdays this, and in one week it's the same topic. I cover this exact same topic, exact words, verbs for
you're
1 week.
you were talking about the Spanish teacher across
That
from you.
you have, yeah.
Yeah, don't throw out
No, I
names,
don't.
please.
Yeah,
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 sorry.
yeah. I don't have her this year, but
Oh, I thought you
from
did. Sorry.
no, no, no. I had her last year though, but
Ah, okay, okay.
no, she didn't really have much of like a routine. Really, like she would kind of it would kind of be like she'd get us started like on verbs and certain words, and
Okay.
then we learn the conjugations of it, the different ways of saying it,
Yeah.
and then we would do we would like kind of like review it, like we just kind of like repeat it over and over to like partners,
Uh-huh.
and then she'd give us like a worksheet, and after that we'll just kind of like just either do that, like we'll do that again, like we do it in some different way, like it whether it'd be like another worksheet, we'd
And
go
some
through the workbook,
mhm.
but like we never really knew what we were going to be doing. Like she would kind of tell us like, okay, it's like we're gonna be doing this today, we're gonna work in the workbook today, or like, oh, we have a quiz. Like it wasn't really like we didn't really know exactly what we are gonna be doing. Like we had an idea, but that was
Yeah,
about
dude,
it.
that doesn't give that doesn't
Like
help
it leaves
with
you
emotional well-being, which is what I'm big on.
it leaves you gussing. You don't know what
No,
you're
no,
getting into.
nah, I don't like that. It's not right.
No.
She's a good teacher, dude. She was my high school teacher.
Huh. Yeah, no,
Then again,
she's a good
times were
teacher, but
different, bro. Then again, times
hmm
were pretty different. This was I had her 2008.
Mhm.
I had her in 2008. It's quite a while ago.
So, one of the last things I wanted to talk about, there was another TED talk by Santini Grunberg called "Life Hacking Your Multiple Passions," and in it, just to kind of summarize, she was talking about this couple that had met, right, and they had interests in jewelry making and cartography and geometry, right, and those are wildly different things, right? Like they're kind of all over the place. They're not they're not something that you typically would like bring together or you would think of as a part of one person having all those types of interests, you know? Um
Mhm.
just because of how diverse it is. But they came together and they started making jewelry of um of different countries using geometric patterns, and it's really pretty. It's so good. The jewelry is so pretty. And if you like really love your country, having a shape like that with you, I'd imagine feels so kind of comforting.
Hmm.
But it's that overlap and that ingenuity that overlap could be brought together that brought that to life because that hasn't been made before. Somebody might have thought about it, but they never ever had that passion or like that drive to actually make it a reality. And these two people found, with their very diverse interests, a way to make that happen, something unique.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
so I know that we tend to have things because as people we don't just focus on one thing. There's so much going on. Um, you talked about kind of how some of your interests crossed over, like with the chickens and the rose bush. Like it
Yeah.
just happened to work together. And it's kind of beautiful because that's how nature works. I mean, animals are gonna help the plants are gonna help the animals.
Yep.
It's a part of that cycle. But what are other things now that we've had all this discussion and we have all this behind us, what are different interests that you think you could start combining in your life and see what unique stuff you could bring out of it?
Hmm. Different interests I can start combining.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Dang, that's a good question.
Because for me, another one of them, I mean, I told you I love talking, which is why I'm here. But
Mhm.
I talking wasn't enough to make the podcast happen. I had to have something else that I was interested in
Mhm.
to even have a foundation to talk upon.
Hmm.
And so that foundation didn't come to me for the longest time because all it was like talking. It's like I didn't just want to hear myself talking. I want to do. I want to bring something
Well,
that's like
I you
interesting to people.
uh-huh.
I want to bring something new. And I know that a mental well-being podcast isn't brand new. But I
Right.
think the way that we're presenting it is definitely different from other ones. Like the pieces that I've brought together are all from different personal parts of my life, different interests that I've had, and I've just been tying them together. My interest in talking, my journey that I've had so far. I mean, I'm not done with it. It's going to continue till the day I
Yes.
die.
Yes.
But this journey of mental health growth that I've had, it's such a big thing that I've wanted to talk about it. And with the way that
Good.
like I can just go down, like I have a list of TED Talks that I went for this topic, and I'm gonna do it
Oh,
again
nice.
for the next one
That's
because
what's up.
it's so easy for me to absorb that information like that. And so I'm pretty much doing what I've been doing, except now I'm recording it and producing something and putting it out into the world.
Good. Yeah.
That's the productive leisure. So for me,
Mhm.
this is one way that I've brought it in.
Yeah. My interests are combined too. The teaching,
Mm-hmm.
okay, right? I mean, I'm a teacher. And look, this was a while ago. This was, I think, when I went back to college,
Mm-hmm.
so in 2017 or so. One of my cousins, he got out of prison, and um, he saw that I had a chessboard,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Well, want to play?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah." And then I played, and man, he kicked my butt. And when he was locked up, that's all he did was play chess, um, with all the inmates and the guards, and he said he would beat them all. I was like, "Dude, what?" So I kept playing him, and um, I started getting better. And then with the new skills I got, I challenged some friends. Well, my best friend Aaron Wheeler, shout out
Mm-hmm.
to Aaron Wheeler. Um, we started playing chess, and I would kick his butt, and he would be like, "Well, what the heck?" So he would try to get better. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
fast forward to now, that interest of chess with teaching, I'm the chess coach now. Like that's wild. I brought in a chessboard to try to implement it for like a Spanish lesson, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um and then a student challenged me to chess. I was like, okay. I kicked his butt. Really.
Oh, you good?
You just cut out right now.
Oh no.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're
Did
good.
I cut out?
There you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back now.
So I kicked his butt
Uh-huh.
in this chess match. He would keep coming back. I was like, okay. Um and then a whole year passed, a whole school year passed. He was gonna move to Arizona. Um And we played, dude. This is crazy. This is gonna sound poetic. Like, we played our very last match together,
Mm-hmm.
and with his improvement, dude, we tied. And I was like, oh man, well, Yeah, I told him congrats. You know, I didn't beat him this time. It was sad that he moved though, but yeah, I'll always remember that, and hopefully he does too. The last match we played in person, yeah, we tied. That was crazy, man.
I
And
think.
then the English teacher, he's the one that formally started the chess club. Uh, but it stressed him out too much, so he gave it to me.
uh, I think I didn't
Yeah.
really think about this until we started talking, but the really common thread that I keep hearing is
Uh-huh.
like through exploring these interests and giving that time into it, even if it's a little interest, like it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think all of these things have become full blown hobbies for you. They're definitely like a
Oh
part of
yeah,
your they're a part of
that's
your life
crazy,
though.
huh? That's crazy, huh?
And just
Yeah.
through exploring these interests a little bit, look at the connections and memories you've made. Look at like the stories that you have to tell.
It's yeah, dude.
And I think that's the most important part about the hobbies here is that you get to create those connections with people.
And I think that's really kind of what that's like another reason why people have them, so that they can connect with people and, like you said, start a community
Yeah.
and
I
and
barely had
grow.
6 chess players, and now, well, there's a lot. Now there's a
We
lot.
have like you just said right now. We have like six. You started with six, and now we have like over like what 20 people now.
Yeah, it's
Like
because
we
I,
have a lot of people.
yeah, I also don't want to tell you guys how to play chess. It's like your own
More
style, like
just
Smash
let
Bros.
it happen. Yeah, just
Yeah, yeah.
let it happen. Let them grow in their own way.
I do not want to influence it at all. And look at us, like we have like the top players in the city.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe
Like
the
we have a lot
state,
of
I don't know. We'll see. State comes up in
well,
February.
yeah. We'll see what happens because
Golly.
state's coming up. But yeah, like just like
Yeah.
just well, another reason, like just the reason why we have hobbies is so that we can connect with people
Yeah.
through our hobbies. Like I remember last year, beginning of freshman year, my teacher, she had us introduce ourselves to the class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And she had us say your name, whatever, give us the whole rundown. She's like tell us, and also tell us like one of your hobbies, right?
Nice.
And when she went up to me, I told them that I do music, right? And after
Hmm.
class, this guy, he comes up to me and he's like, hey, so you do music, right? I'm like, yeah. And so he told me that he does it too. And so that's how we started. That's how we connected, and that's how we became friends. We became friends through music, and then we realized that we had some mutual friends that we had, and they also did music. And so like we just started making all these connections with people
Hmm.
through that one thing. And
Yep.
now, well, actually, tomorrow I'm gonna have him over, and we're actually about to jam out tomorrow. And so like that's just like it's just crazy to think about. Like it was all just from this one thing because I said that I do music, right? And
Yeah.
because of that, now we're jamming out. It's pretty interesting because that's how you like grow. It's just
Hmm.
all it takes is just one little thing, and now all of a sudden we have this. It's I really don't know what to like kind of
It's a little group.
like
I mean,
call
you
it
guys
like,
are just hanging out together,
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's
and that's
that's
how
how
you
it is. It
guys.
just takes That's how we
That's
connect.
my bad. My bad. I keep.
Yeah.
No, 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 but yeah, that's how we connect. That's what like we talk about, and then as the friendship grows, we kind of talk about other things, right? See if we have any other things in common, and then we build off of that too. Like it's not just one thing. Like
Yeah.
like you said, the diversity. Like you need diversity, and I'm gonna go back to the movie Soul because
Mm.
there's one scene when I forget her name, but the soul ends up going into a body for the first time.
Hmm.
And when she's getting a haircut, right? She's talking about like just life, like in the great before, like how it is over there.
Yeah.
And the barber, he's like, it was really nice talking to you about something other than just jazz, you know, because that's what he would go over there when he'd go over there,
Nice.
and he would get a haircut. That's all he talked about, jazz, jazz, jazz.
Yeah.
And so that one time when he wasn't in control of that body, they were talking about something else. And it's just that, bringing diversity into something that could really, it could make things like grow a lot.
Mm.
So I guess to get more specific on that, because you brought up earlier about obsessions. Would you say that he was so obsessed with jazz that he would refuse to listen to anything else or anybody else?
Mm.
Because that was so like on his mind that this hobby that he had just completely took over. He wasn't listening to anybody else. He wasn't talking about anything else. It was just jazz to the point that it was monotonous to everybody in his life.
Mm. Um,
Because
I mean, yeah, you could say that.
I'm trying to remember the plot of the movie a little bit better. Because he dies right before he gets into his dream gig, right?
Yeah.
And oh no, so it's after he plays his dream gig is the part that I'm thinking about. Because right after he does that, he he
He's like,
realizes,
now what?
yeah, like now what? Like I just had my dream. Now what do I do?
Yeah, he hit the top of the mountain. Yeah.
And the soul had it right at the whole time where it was. I mean,
There's more to life. Yeah.
I will never miss the chance to bring up this song, but to feel the rain on your skin because no one else could feel it for you. Like genuinely, those words are the best thing that I carry with me at all time. Like my experiences are unique to me, and the moment that I try to describe that to somebody else, it's already secondhand information.
Mm.
And so that was the biggest part, to have that mindfulness. I think overall that's what the theme of the story was: be mindful of the things around you, around the life around you, and give into what you enjoy while simultaneously being mindful of the things surrounding.
Yeah, because if you just focus on that one thing, you start to get like tunnel vision, and you don't get to experience everything else. Like you're just so focused on that one thing, you don't know, like you don't know anything else.
And going
Like you
back
can't like.
to the idea of work life balance, like if a hobby in a way is just another form of work, then you still have to give into life, which is, experiencing all of that.
Mhm.
Also, wow.
Hmm.
I didn't think we were gonna get to a point like that. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that personally, that's what I think it's all about. At the end of the day, we're here to enjoy the fact that we're here to enjoy each other, make each other like feel happy.
Share hobbies.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I one of my greatest joys, and I found this out in high school when my friend was explaining to me Yu-Gi-Oh. I wasn't super interested in Yu-Gi-Oh, but
But
hearing
the
the
fact that he
excitement,
was,
yeah,
yeah.
hearing the excitement in his voice, I'm like, oh yeah, oh it does
Mhm.
this, and I found myself learning about like Blackwing Dragon decks and all of that, and getting super into it because like I saw how invested somebody else could have gotten into that. I'm like, wow, there's got to be something there, and there is. It's not for me, but there's some cool stuff in that game, and it's like I love sharing that excitement. Hearing somebody's voice rise with excitement when they start to talk to you is like one of the best feelings in conversation.
I agree. I really like finding out like what a student's hobby is. It brings them more excitement. Um, Especially if we're talking in Spanish, I'll try to implement that.
Mhm. Yeah, and with that, like with you sharing like a bit of your personal life with the student and them doing the same to you start to build a relationship. And in if you have like a really good strong relationship with someone, it becomes easier to talk to someone like that. It just becomes a lot easier. It's more natural. And I'm gonna go like a little bit back to what you were saying about you and your friend, like you on the drums and your friend on the guitar, right? You
Yeah.
guys just go at it, and it's
Uh-huh.
just
Improv.
and
Yeah.
it's good, and it's good because you guys have that relationship with each other. Like it's just kind of like a you just kind of flow together, as opposed like with the stranger, it would be kind of hard to do it because you don't really know you don't know how they play, you don't know their style, you don't know what they're
Yeah.
gonna do. But
Mm-hmm.
say like you're with that friend, you guys already have like that connection. You guys have that relationship with each other, so it's easier to do things like jamming out together.
Yeah.
It's just
There's
more
this
of a
is
flow.
synergy we have, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're both classically trained, so that helps.
Yeah, exactly. So like having like a
We're the
really like
same
similar
style.
path.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
it just becomes a lot easier to do things with
it's
each
very
other.
interesting, yeah.
Like I remember there was a gig that I played. It was me, my dad, and my grandpa, right? Just us three.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And we were doing a gig, and we were doing like a lot of like just a lot of on the spot like little runs and licks and all that. And they sounded pretty good together. And just because we all learned the same way, because it's us, like we however my
Mm-hmm.
dad learned, it was from my grandpa, and however I learned, it was from my dad. And so
Nice.
we all learned through the same way. And so because of that, we're able to play the same way. We're able to play together. We're able to have like a lot of just do a lot of cool things that you can't do with other people because you don't have
Yeah.
that relationship. You don't have that, like you said, synergy.
Yes. And Jose,
Mhm.
this is gonna be even crazier.
Okay.
So, uh, while I was in band and all that, and then I stopped because of college and stuff. There was for a little bit I thought that that skill was useless.
Hmm.
I was like, man, I wasted 7 years, dude, of music. Like for what? So then all of a sudden there was a casting call um to be a background actor.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, I met the first requirement. And
What,
then
what was that?
just being Native American. Okay, so so like I passed
Oh.
the first requirement. I'm like, okay, okay. Um, and then I had to send in pictures, shirtless ones too. I'm overweight, so I was like, okay, great. I'm not gonna get selected. I got selected. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Then to narrow it down, they were asking for skills, and I was like, shoot, I'm just gonna put band. I was like, I'll just put band. Dude, I got handpicked by the director, bro.
Ooh.
Um, to play this drum in a scene. So they fly me out to freaking London. Um, and I'm just overwhelmed. I'm like, wow, this is really like happening. What the heck? And so on the set, boom, they give me the drum, and I just do what I do, man. I just gave a steady beat. That's all he wanted. I was like, okay, easy.
Yeah.
And the movie's not out yet, but when it comes out, you're gonna see me playing the drum, bro.
Are you allowed to say what movie or no?
Yes, yeah. Here, Here, by Robert Zemeckis.
All right.
Um, and man, that was nuts. That my music years did not go to waste. I was like, what the heck? It's
Yeah.
nuts, right? Isn't
No,
that
like,
crazy?
because
I'm gonna be in a movie, bro.
every skill that you pick up is yours to keep.
Yeah, and then just the timing it comes. How old
Currently,
I
I'm
don't know if you want to
22.
say your age. Nice. And then Gustavo's younger, right?
Hmm.
I'm yeah 15, about to turn 16 next
Dude,
week
I'm
actually.
telling you. Yeah, I turned freaking 30 this year, and I'm telling you, things just align. It is so strange, bro. It is so strange. like my 20s was rough, bro. It was rough, and then all of a sudden, just things started working out. It's crazy, man, and yeah, I'm just really grateful. I don't know.
So the man, I know I said the last thing like an hour ago that I
I'm
wanted
so
to bring
sorry.
up. No, no, no. I don't mind it.
Yeah,
Trust me, that's not a bad thing. Um, but there's this idea, and I'm gonna bring it up in multiple episodes of
yeah.
social closeness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So depending on how close we are with somebody, and it's rated on 4 different levels. We will share a certain amount of information. We will interact with them in a certain way, and as people, the more intimate we get with somebody, and I don't mean like
Yeah, I
in
know.
in a nasty way, but the more you get to know somebody, like who they actually are, the more you're allowed to like kind of maneuver around those rules that were once there, those social rules, right?
Yeah.
So, like people in your family, you treat them differently than you would a stranger on the street, right?
Yeah.
Like not, mm, not in every way. There's still basic human decency you show, but you're not as familiar with your family as you are with a stranger, right? Like you're not.
I don't know, dude.
I'm trying to determine like where you would cross that boundary for some people.
I
Like
I see what you mean.
I don't know.
Um,
Every relationship has a certain amount of social rules that you got to follow
yeah.
to an extent, right? Like marriage is a social contract of sorts. But there's certain things that make it binding, and if you do things outside of that contract, then you've broken the marriage. Same thing with
Yes.
friendships, right? Like
Yeah.
being friends with somebody comes with the agreements that there are certain things that we do and certain things that we don't do with each other, right?
Right.
So there's that idea of social closeness. The more familiar we are, the way that we interact with these people, bringing it to hobbies. How do you think like it affects your level of closeness with somebody, especially right off the bat, somebody who shares that interest with you?
I guess
Um,
you end up being more open. I don't know, or more
uh,
transparent.
yeah, like you start to open up on that topic more specifically, more than anything,
Yeah.
because you have that hobby or interest in common, and so now you know, like, hey, I could talk about this to this specific person
Yeah,
because we have this in common.
you guys now have an in, pretty much.
Yeah, you guys
Mm-hmm.
have a way to actually talk to each other, and like I said earlier, after a while, you start talking about other things, and then you just start to build off of that and just build your relationship.
Yeah, because that's exactly why I brought it up in the first place, because I was hearing you talk about that. I have a chart here, and I'm gonna make sure that I upload it with the video on a research by Robert L. Selman. And it was so the very first level is egocentric impulsive level, he calls it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's more like impulsive strategy. So this would be literally somebody that you're passing by on the street, right? Or somebody that you're walking by in a Walmart that you have no connection with, right? The only shared experience is the environment that you're in. And in certain situations, there's things that would probably increase the level of trust that you have somebody with somebody there. For example, if there was an emergency that happened in that area, like there was a fire, there's a you would start following them probably to the exit that they're going to if they started making way before you. If you had nobody else with you, right? But let's say that you had somebody who was closer to you, you would probably bring them with you or follow them first instead of the stranger.
Right.
And so depending on that level of closeness that you have with them, you interact with them differently. The next one was shared was the unilateral one-way level, which is he describes as shared experience through expressive enthusiasm without concern for reciprocity. Basically saying like you enjoy one thing, but it's going the one way. You don't really care if it's sticking to the other person, right?
Hmm.
Um Before I get too far, I wanna hear your thoughts about that. What's your thinking?
Can you ask it again? What?
Just on what I've been talking about. Like, what are thoughts that are
Mhm.
running through your head?
Man, uh, I don't know. Could you rephrase it?
So yeah.
Or yeah.
So once again, it was shared experience through expressive enthusiasm without concern for reciprocity, which is just like
Right. Okay.
it's
Um.
pretty much saying that you guys are in the same environment, right? With
Yeah.
this expressed interest, but you don't really care if they have it, right? It's not really you're not talking about them. You're not talking about it to them because you know they have that experience. You're talking about it because it's something that you like. So this is a
Hmm.
graph for literally
Shoot.
getting to know somebody better. This is
Yeah.
this is the stepping stones to getting to know somebody, pretty much. Right. So at that very first one, there's nothing, right? Egocentric. And on the second
Okay.
level, it's just going one way. You're just giving them information, right?
Well, that's like me teaching, me being a teacher.
Right. And so what would be the next
Yeah.
level of that with your students? Which would be shared experience through joint reflection or similar perceptions or experiences. So now you guys start to talk about things that you have in common. So like
Uh-huh.
playing chess with that student, right? That was a
Right,
shared
right,
interest
right.
that you guys had. The final level would be that, but with a little bit more of care for the other person. That's not the right way to phrase that.
I think I know what you mean.
It says shared experience through collaborative, empathic, reflective processes, right? So you guys, that's literally where you're like feeling each other out. Those are those heart to heart
Mm.
conversations.
Uh-huh.
So those are the four levels, right? I think it's very common that we get to that. People within our field of interests or our hobbies, right, are more likely to get to that level than most others.
Huh. Yeah. Wow. I guess I just keep thinking of Aaron Wheeler. Shout out to Aaron Wheeler. um, it's so weird just how many things we have in common. Like we've been friends for let me see since like 2013,
Mhm.
2014 because we weren't friends in high school. We knew each other existed. We didn't become friends till like college. And to this day, we're still finding out new things about each other that we have in common. And it's just wild.
But
It's
you,
little things too. It's just little things like he made pomegranate juice
Mhm.
not too long ago, and then I was like, dude, I love pomegranate juice. And he was like, me too. I don't know, just stupid little things like that. Just like I don't know,
It's like a
reinforces our
little bro moment.
friendship. Yeah, dude, it's weird.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the heck?
yeah, and that all
Are
started
you my
from the
best friend?
drums there.
Yeah,
yeah, and
man. That's probably why. Yeah, I don't. It's weird, dude.
But you
But again,
definitely
I've only
like
been playing drums 4 months though. It's from when we just chill. He'll sometimes bust out his guitar and he would play, and I think that inspired me to play with him because I would
hmm
always listen to him. I'm like, dang, this guy's good. Like I would always just listen to him, and I don't. I guess 4 months ago, I was like, man, I guess it's time. I think I'm gonna try to jam with him. And dude, I sucked at the drums. Oh my gosh, I sucked, and it took me like a week to get decent at it. And where I'm at now, I'm it sounds awful. I don't want to brag about myself, but I'm good. I'm not like great, but I'm good.
well, yeah, I
you've
think
improved.
Yeah, I've improved. Yeah.
I think this word always gets a lot of like it has a negative connotation to it. But I
Uh-huh.
think it's really positive just because if you're average, you're there. I mean, most people are or not most, but
Yes, yeah,
half the
yeah.
population is below average. If you're average, you're doing better than half the
Yeah,
people who are trying that, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
I
But again, I'm classically trained, so I just knew what to do.
yeah.
I don't
But
know.
um,
I saw this. Well,
no, what was it?
sorry.
On a tier list, they
I
would
saw
put
this.
you as. I'm sorry. I don't. It's because I don't want to make it seem
No,
like I'm insulting you and calling you like mid. I want to say like the level would be like
Well, we gotta jam out, and then you'll see.
no, because I
We'll
do
see
want
if
to
we
hear you
got
and I
it.
do believe you.
Yeah, yeah.
But
We
it
gotta
would be
jam out.
like
I
once
go
you
off of
start
the
putting
guitar.
practice into it, it's
Uh-huh.
you get that above average, and you're not like professional. You're not like
Right.
jazz drummer. You're counting like 11
Uh,
16ths or something like that. But you
yeah.
have a good foundation that allows you to be adaptable in many situations,
Yeah.
and that's what's important in
And
where you're at
also
right now.
being, I think being selfless helps too. I was a tuba player, so I'll just play those long whole notes, and
Huh.
I wasn't the one with the melody, the trumpets were. And so that's what I am with the drums too. I go off him. I go off what he's playing, and I just make it cool. I'm
Yeah.
I'm augmenting I'm augmenting it. I'm not just throwing out wild beats everywhere trying to impress him or.
Hmm.
Um, I just go off what he's doing, and then I guess he'll go off what I'm doing too. I don't know, it's
you
just
go off each
weird, dude.
other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
All right. And then Thawo, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I cut you off hard earlier. I didn't mean to do that.
No, it's fine. You know, I was I saw this video on like learning skills, right?
Mhm.
Hmm.
I said this guy he said if you were to put 20 hours into one skill, you'd already be better than like almost 90% of the population. I doubt those
Dang,
numbers are like true. I'd say a little bit less,
it could
but
be.
maybe yeah. But if you take 1 hour out of the day for 20 days into one skill, you would be better than almost everybody in the world. Like say like you want to get better at pool. You know,
Hmm.
within like the first like few days, you start learning how to like just hit like straight shots, and then as like within those 20 days, you start learning a lot more things like banking and spinning and all that. Like if
But
you were to put time into it, like you said, the three things for a hobby: time, money, and life. If you just put
Time,
something as
money,
simple
life.
as time, if you put something as simple as time into just one skill, you would be
Yeah.
better than most.
My
And
drum
then,
set, yeah, costed I think 250. I don't remember. So there's the money.
yeah, yeah, there's the money.
uh,
So at
and
first
then
it's
the
the time, and then as you spend time, you're like, hey, this is pretty cool. You start to put some
yes, yeah,
money
like
into it,
like I
and then
said, I would just listen to him play guitar, and
yeah,
I
that's
liked it.
how.
I was like, this is sick. And so
Yeah.
I put the
So
money. Yeah.
yeah, and so after the time, you put the money, and then after that money, you start putting your life into it. That's when you actually start investing yourself, not just your money and your time. You put yourself into that skill,
Yeah, bro.
and then you grow, you progress.
well, yeah, I mean that's what it takes. Like anything, any type of growth that you need to put that time and effort into it.
Yes. And like I
Um,
said, I mean, you're still pretty young. Like I'm telling you, dude, things just click when you get a little bit older.
yeah,
It's weird. It's
no, well,
wild.
I feel it. Like I was saying, like a lot of things for this podcast kind of like fell
Yes, dude.
together
Good. That's
because
what's up.
what had happened, like even this background that people are looking at on YouTube, this was
Uh-huh.
something that I had when I was like super interested in animation. I made it a
Yeah,
while
I like
ago,
it. I like it.
and it was
Yeah.
something that I put a lot of time and effort into, and I haven't animated since really.
Mm.
But it was a combination of so many interests I have. I mean, I could talk
Yep.
a lot about this animation. It was a period of my life is contained within those frames there, and so I'm able to bring that into this conversation and into this part of my life, and able to continue that to carry it with me. I think that's like the most beautiful part of it. Like everything that I've done before has led up to this.
Yes, dude. It's a good feeling, huh?
And so it just it makes me happy to keep living. It makes me happy to continue to be here, to continue talking.
Yeah.
It's the best part of doing all of this, getting to hear all these voices and all these different perspectives, and know that other people are thinking the same things too.
Hmm.
But I will say we're getting to the 2 hour end now.
All right.
So just for the sake of my throat and everybody's ears now, we can go ahead and start wrapping up. Uh, Thank you guys for joining me. This was a really nice topic to go on about. I hope,
Yeah, I didn't even think I was gonna get on. So I'm glad I did.
no,
Yeah,
me
no.
too. This was
Hmm.
really nice. I would love to get you on again for another topic, especially with your background of like being a teacher. I think that
Yeah.
teachers have very interesting perspectives when it comes to growth.
Oh yeah.
And so message for everybody listening, of course, leave a like, leave a comment about like any suggestions you wanna hear later on for us to talk about, and your thoughts on these kinds of things. I mean, the list of questions that I have here that I'd like to leave for you guys today is just hobbies that you've developed and why they're important to you, reasons why you think hobbies are important to have, how you go about like sharing in a community with your hobbies, and how it ties into the different stages in life as you've grown. Of course, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Shout out to Aaron Wheeler. Nah.